When the earthquake struck, I was trapped in a confined space, desperately calling Pablo for help. But he only sneered coldly. Carmen, do you have no shame left? You're supposed to be in City A for a business trip. How can an earthquake in City B possibly affect you? What a liar. I'm hanging up. Just as I was about to speak, a familiar and flirtatious moan echoed through the receiver. Then silence. Clinging to the last thread of life, I screamed for help. Suddenly, a beam of light pierced through the darkness, and there he was, Pablo's sworn enemy, Ezequiel. Later, when Pablo came looking for me, Ezequiel wrapped an arm casually around my waist, his head resting at my neck, and provoked him with a smirk, looking for my girlfriend. What's the matter? Chapter 1. The darkness around me was suffocating, the air thick and still. The faint light in my hand was my only hope. Pablo's deep voice came through, cold and indifferent. Carmen, can you stop making trouble? Your sister is still in the hospital. After upsetting her so badly, she ended up hospitalized. You ran off to City A to enjoy yourself. You really are wicked. And now what? Couldn't trick me yesterday, so today you're using an earthquake as an excuse? If you really want to die, then go ahead. The air was getting thinner, my breathing harder. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I choked out. I really am in City B.
Pablo.
Save me. I didn't hurt Naomi. She framed me. Please. I'm really dying. Then came that sweet, all too familiar voice through the phone. And silence. I glanced at my phone screen. 1% battery. Just as I was about to beg again, the phone shut off. The cramped space plunged into total darkness. Despair washed over me. Tears blurred my vision as hopelessness consumed me. Blood oozed from my injured right calf, the chills slowly creeping through my body. I let out a bitter laugh, coughing weakly. Pablo, you promised to protect me for life, to marry me. But after my sister returned, why did you change? It was clearly a trap. Why didn't you believe me? Am I really so worthless compared to her?
Pablo.
I was such a fool, lying to myself. I won't hold on to you anymore. In the next life, I hope I'll never see you again. Never. Chapter 2. I lay amidst shattered debris, my mind foggy, consciousness fading.
So,
this is what it feels like to be on the brink of death.
Death.
Maybe this is a kind of relief. Then beep, hello, host. I'm System 002, at your service. If you're willing to complete this mission, you'll have the chance to be reborn. Do you accept? Rebirth. Do I really want to die like this? No, I want to live. I accept. As soon as I answered, I heard shouting above me. Voices getting closer. We've been searching for 5 hours. How much longer do we have to keep going? Why does the boss care so much about finding the second daughter of the Lin family? Isn't he always so, less talking, more working? If the boss wants it done, do it. Why all the chatter? Yes, yes. Then the sound of shifting concrete and rubble. Moments later, any sign? A familiar man's voice asked. Not yet. Maybe. I don't care what you think. If you haven't found her, keep looking. The harsh scolding rang out. I didn't know where the strength came from, but I forced out a hoarse cry. Help me.
Please.
Suddenly, the slab above me was lifted. Light poured in. I collapsed into a warm embrace. The tension in my body released and I fainted. A mechanical voice echoed in my mind. Host, congratulations on locking in your target, Ezequiel. Please complete the mission as soon as possible or face punishment. Chapter 3. So hot. Too hot. I awoke, the sharp pain in my body replaced by a burning heat. What's happening? Host, since you were asleep and not progressing with your mission, System 002 used special measures to forcibly awaken you, hoping you'll complete the mission soon. What? You're awake. How do you feel? A tall man stood by the bed, imposing. I opened my hazy eyes and clearly saw his face. With a hoarse voice, I asked, Did you save me? The man before me was none other than Ezequiel, Pablo's nemesis. The illegitimate son of the Chin family, Ezequiel was notorious for his ruthless methods and sharp business acumen. Since taking over Chin Corporation, its growth had been unstoppable, rivaling the Song family's commercial empire within a few short years. For reasons unknown, Ezekiel harbored a deep grudge against Pablo, frequently snatching away major projects infuriating him. Because of my feelings for Pablo, I never liked Ezekiel either.
But now.
Does your leg still hurt? Ezekiel approached, voice lazy and nonchalant. Dressed impeccably in a black suit, one hand in his pocket, he stood casually beside the bed. A faint pine scent wafted from him, intensifying the heat in my body.
I'm
so hot. Ezekiel. Unable to resist, I threw myself into his arms. Ezekiel froze for a moment, then with a playful tone said, "What's this? Just woke up and already throwing yourself at me? Carmen, I'm not Pablo." His voice lowered, cold and threatening. "Open your eyes. Look at me." As he spoke, he was clearly gritting his teeth. Another wave of heat surged through me, consuming what little willpower I had left. I grabbed his head and kissed him desperately. "Carmen, do you even know what you're doing? I'm Ezekiel, not some substitute." His angry words suddenly broke off as my trembling hand moved downward, brushing against something hard.
No.
"You're Ezekiel," I murmured, lips parting from his for a moment.
Ha.
Do you? Well, since you've come this far, I won't pretend to be a saint. But, Carmen, don't regret this. If you take me, don't think you'll be able to leave so easily. His masculine scent overwhelmed me, dragging me deeper into the heat. Chapter 4. Pablo, why hasn't Carmen come back yet? It's been days with no word from her, Naomi asked softly, her face pale. Don't mention her. Pablo sneered as he peeled an apple. She called me the other day claiming there was an earthquake in City B, begging me to save her. She was obviously in City A, but wanted me to rush to City B. Lying again. She's spoiled. Needs to be taught a lesson. Naomi coughed lightly, her voice gentle.
Pablo.
Carmen is still young. As her sister. I'm not sure what to say about her actions, but I hope you won't be too harsh on her. Don't defend her. Pablo cut in coldly. Look what she's done to you. All this drama, stealing opportunities from you for those hopeless actors she manages. She clearly doesn't care about you. Just thinking about her makes me angry. Enough talking. Drink some water. He stood, handing Naomi a glass of water with tender care, the two of them looking every bit like a deeply in-love couple. Suddenly, the phone rang. Mr. Song, hello. The patient in room 5 insists on seeing Miss Lin. We can't reach her by phone. Could you try calling her? Maybe you could visit with her mother? Pablo frowned, an uneasy feeling creeping into his heart. Could Carmen really have been caught in the earthquake? He was about to dial when Naomi's soft voice interrupted him.
Pablo.
Was that the rehab hospital? Auntie asking for Carmen again? Her phone. Still no answer. Seeing Naomi's worried face, Pablo remembered something from a year ago. Carmen had used a similar trick pretending to apologize, using her mother as an excuse to lure him out. She'd cried, begged him to come, saying she'd die if he didn't. He had gone, only to find out it was all a setup, just to stop him from attending Naomi's performance. Because of that, Naomi lost focus, fell from the stage, and was bedridden for half a month. Remembering this, Pablo sneered coldly. His recent concern now seemed laughable. Carmen had used every trick in the book. Even after agreeing to marry her, she was still insecure, unable to tolerate even her own sister. Maybe her phone isn't out of service. Maybe she's ignoring us on purpose. Come back to bed. She's not like your sister is full of schemes. Tossing his phone onto the table, face expressionless, Pablo left the room, calling out, Assistant Jiang, if any news about Carmen comes in, don't bother telling me. Naomi needs to rest.
But, no but.
Who's in charge here, you or me? You are, sir. Chapter 5. When I woke up, there was no one beside me. Clothes lay scattered on the floor, my undergarments torn to shreds.
Did I
really sleep with Ezekiel? Hearing the sound of running water from the bathroom, my heart trembled. Ezekiel wasn't like the other rich heirs. He was unpredictable, dangerous, always one step ahead in the ruthless world of business. He could strike a fatal blow while smiling politely. I vaguely remembered Pablo once, TSS. Why can't I recall? Host, to help you complete your mission, Each time you have intimate contact with the target, you'll gradually forget things related to Pablo. System 002 believes this is very effective for a girl wanting to forget a scumbag. The memories began to fade. To forget him completely. Remembering that overwhelming despair during the earthquake, my heart clenched.
This
Really is a good method. I smiled softly. What's a good method? Ezekiel emerged from the bathroom, a towel wrapped around his waist, defined abs on full display, looking utterly tempting. And nothing, I stammered. Just as I tried to get out of bed, my legs gave out, and I collapsed to the floor. In such a rush. In an instant, I was scooped up into his damp arms, his teasing voice in my ear.
No.
My legs. They're weak, I whispered, cheeks flushed. Oh, was I too rough? My bad. His tone was playful, with no hint of remorse. Closing my eyes, I recalled the system's earlier intel. Suddenly, I wrapped my arms around his neck just as he was about to step away. Is that so? But I don't mind. Dare to go again? I challenged. Ezekiel seemed to grit his teeth, letting out a low growl. Miss Lynn, have you become obsessed with my body? I think the phrase isn't get enough. I didn't know where the courage came from. I pushed him onto the bed, climbed on top of him, tilting his chin up. And if I say yes? Ezekiel lay beneath me, a ripe fruit ready to be picked, smirking. Go ahead. I won't resist. Emboldened, I bit down on him, though my movements were clumsy, inexperienced. Moments later, flushed and breathless, Ezekiel flipped me beneath him, pulling me into another wave of passion. Chapter 6. It took Naomi a full week to recover from her cough. During that time, Pablo was busy caring for her while managing his work. He never once thought about meth woman supposedly away on a business trip. By the time Pablo thought about returning to the old Song family mansion, 10 days had already passed. It had been so long surely Carmen should have come home by now. When had she ever stayed away for more than a week? Always so dramatic, acting like a spoiled child. Carmen, I'm home, Pablo called out as he entered the house. Young master, you've returned. Miss Lynn has been gone for 10 days now, and no one's been able to reach her. Could something have happened to her? Aunt Chen said anxiously. She's still not back? Pablo frowned. She's ignoring everyone's calls. Is she really forcing me to go after her now? Probably still sending messages to Assistant Jiang, as if flaunting our relationship for attention. Carmen loved dragging him into the spotlight in front of the media. Her Weibo was full of photos of the two of them on dates. Every time he saw those photos, he couldn't help but laugh. Pulling out his phone, he dialed. Which hotel is Carmen staying at in City B? Book me a flight. I'm going to see her. Mr. Song, I'm not sure, no one's mentioned anything about Miss Carmen lately. Assistant Jiang replied cautiously. Pablo slammed his teacup onto the table, his expression darkening. Nothing? None of Carmen's informants sent you any updates. Carmen often visited Song Corporation just to see him, becoming quite familiar with the staff. Sometimes, when she was upset, she'd have an assistant send her whereabouts to Jiang, clearly implying he needed to go comfort her. But this time, nothing. Carmen, what game are you playing? Frowning deeply, Pablo scrolled through his blocked numbers and dialed a familiar one. Chapter 7. Over the past few days, as I'd shared more and more intimate moments with Ezekiel, my feelings for Pablo were steadily fading. The innocent love we once had, the bitterness and helplessness of adulthood, the despair I'd felt in those life-and-death moments, it was all slipping away. Even the memory of Pablo himself was starting to disappear. What are you thinking about? The man above me noticed my distraction. Nothing, I murmured softly. If you don't tell the truth, you'll be punished. With that, he continued what he was doing. Watching him, I couldn't help but ask the system. What's the standard for completing the mission with Ezekiel? Am I imagining it, or does he actually like me? The question seemed tricky. After a brief pause, the system replied, Host, he likes your body. But to complete the mission, you must win his heart. Success will only be achieved once you're married to him. Married to such a handsome and wealthy man? That didn't sound so bad. Ring, ring, ring. The phone on the nightstand suddenly rang. Phone, I whispered hoarsely. Has someone's getting impatient? Ezekiel chuckled, reached out, glanced at the caller ID, and handed me the phone before heading to the bathroom.
Someone?
Who could it be? Hello? Who is this? Carmen. You've got some nerve. Off on a business trip for days. If you don't want to come back, then don't bother. Hearing the angry, unfamiliar male voice full of insults, I froze for a second, realizing he was berating me. I snapped back. Who do you think you are? So, what if I'm having fun? I love playing what's it to you. I'll come home when I feel like it. None of your business. You're crazy. Go to hell, idiot. With that, I hung up and blocked the number. Phew, what a relief. Chapter 8. Pablo's face turned livid as he stared at the number he couldn't get through to. Carmen, you've really crossed the line this time. He paced furiously, then dialed another number. Find Carmen's whereabouts immediately. I'm bringing that shameless woman back. And transfer her artists to someone else. She needs to learn there are consequences. Why, yes, right away, sir. Assistant Jiang replied nervously. 3 minutes later, the phone rang again. Speak. Pablo's voice was seething with anger. Mr. Song, well, it's just, stop stammering, spit it out. Miss Lin, she's back in city. She's at Ezekiel's house. Who? Say that again. His voice turned icy. Sichin Ezekiel, sir. We're still looking into it. Maybe there's been some misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? All he could feel was rage. Pablo's chest heaved as he kicked the table violently, eyes bloodshot. Carmen, how dare you? In that bastard's house, Ezekiel. Pablo ground the name between his teeth, his jaw clenched. The servants around him were too terrified to move, the room frozen in silence. After a long moment, Pablo straightened his tie and barked, "Butler, get the car ready." Chapter 9. After telling off that idiot on the phone, I felt refreshed both body and mind. Get up. It's time to eat, Ezekiel said lazily, leaning against the doorframe, fully dressed. I couldn't help but admit this man had an outrageously handsome face. Beneath his tousled hair were those alluring peach blossom eyes, usually cold, yet irresistibly captivating. And, in moments of passion, the tiny mole at the corner of his eye made him even more attractive. What are you staring at? Hurry up and eat, Ezekiel ordered, turning to leave. Oh, okay, coming. As I got out of bed, a thought crossed my mind. Damn. Who's seducing who here? With a face like that, who wouldn't be tempted? I watched as he declined yet another call, his 10th, while I ate my oatmeal. Why don't you answer it? It might be important, I asked. Ezekiel paused mid-step, raised an eyebrow, and said, You want me to answer? Then agree to one condition and make sure you play along. I was about to ask what he meant when the call connected. A hysterical male voice shouted through the phone. Ezekiel, you bastard. How dare you steal my woman? I'm warning you, if you so much as touch her, I'll fight you to the death. Hearing that all too familiar yet annoying voice again, I frowned in disgust.
Such a vulgar man.
Ezekiel noticed my reaction, a playful glint in his eye as he replied, Oh, really? Then come. Fight to the death. There was a brief silence on the other end, then a furious roar. Damn you, Ezekiel. How dare you touch her? You shameless bastard. Just wait, I'll beat you so badly, even your mother won't recognize you. Ezekiel leaned back in his chair, shirt collar open, faint bite marks visible on his collarbone. Smirking, he replied calmly, I'll be waiting. And by the way, I don't have a mother. Click. The call ended. I stared at him in a way so calm, so composed. Impressive. Bang, 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 the sound of pounding at the door echoed through the room. Just follow my lead, Ezekiel murmured. Follow his lead again? He wrapped an arm around my waist and opened the door. Pablo? What are you doing here? I asked, startled to see the furious man at the door. Then it hit Medhat voice on the phone had been his. Had I really failed to recognize it? What am I doing here? Carmen, you're cheating on me. Staying in another man's house. Why else would you be here? Pablo, watch your mouth. How am I cheating? Isn't it normal for a girlfriend to stay at her boyfriend's place? Why accuse me of infidelity? Ezekiel tightened his grip around my waist, speaking with mocking amusement. Girlfriend? Pablo asked, stunned. Ezekiel's hold grew firmer as I confirmed, yes, we're dating. A perfectly normal relationship. Ha. Girlfriend? Carmen, You've been gone 10 days, and suddenly you're with another man? Are you crazy? Hit your head and got amnesia? I've been with you for 7 years. We never even defined our relationship, and now in just 10 days, you've gotten yourself a new man? Pablo shouted, veins bulging as he slammed his fist against the wall. Yes, I replied firmly. What? Pablo froze, jaw clenched. I said maybe I hit my head, got a new boyfriend in 10 days. What's it to you? I looked him straight in the eye, repeating my words. A flicker of confusion flashed in his eyes and a sense of amusement welled up inside me. He probably didn't even know what happened 10 days ago. But it didn't matter anymore. Looking at him now, I felt nothing. That was a good sign. Chapter 10. Carmen, come home with me. I'll overlook this. I'll pretend the last 10 days never happened. You were just being playful, that's all, Pablo said, closing his eyes, trying to mask his anger with false generosity. And who do you think you are, saying you'll overlook it? Who gave you that right? I shot back. Carmen, you. Seeing my determination, Pablo lost control and lunged at me. But before he could touch me, Ezequiel kicked him to the ground. Mr. Song, I suggest you stop bothering us.
It's
Quite disgusting, Ezequiel said coldly. With that, he pulled me back inside and slammed the door shut. Through the narrow gap, I caught a glimpse of Pablo's disheveled face. A wave of satisfaction swept through me. Then came a call from the rehab hospital. Auntie Song was asking for me. After my parents passed, Auntie Song had cared for me the most. Whenever I traveled for business, she'd always remind me to take care, showing me the love of a mother. But in recent years, her health had worsened, and she often needed to stay in the hospital. So after the call, I headed straight there. Carmen, you finally came. Why was your business trip so long this time? Auntie missed you so much. Auntie Song smiled warmly, clutching my hand tightly. Just then, Pablo walked in carrying a hot water bottle, his face cold as if the world owed him millions. Auntie Song noticed his expression and couldn't help scolding him. Look at your face. Carmen's here, and you won't even smile. Be careful or some other guy might snatch her away.
bang.
The hot water bottle slammed hard onto the table with a loud thud. What are you doing? Can't you be a little more gentle? If you can't, then don't bother. Auntie Song scolded sharply. Carmen, did he scare you? Don't pay him any mind. She turned her gentle concern toward me. I heard you went to City A recently. There was an earthquake in nearby City B. Were you affected? Don't worry, Auntie Song. Just focus on getting better. You don't have to worry about me, I reassured her softly. After we chatted for a while, Pablo followed me out of the room. The moment we reached the corner, he shoved me hard against the wall. Pain shot through my wrist as I struggled to free myself. Pablo, let me go. But he acted as if he didn't hear, leaning closer and trying to coax me. Carmen, come home with me, please. Ezequiel isn't good enough for you. Don't let him deceive you. Forget it. We've been childhood friends, grew up together. How could one man take you away so easily? There was a trace of desperation in his eyes, convinced this was all Ezequiel's fault. A mocking smile played on my lips as I asked, Pablo, aren't you disgusted with yourself saying that? One man took me away so easily? And what about you? What did you do? Didn't another woman take you away first? You're the one who broke our promises. A flash of panic crossed Pablo's eyes. He tried to defend himself, feigning calm. Carmen, don't accuse me. I just cared for her more, because she's your sister. Oh, funny I didn't mention Naomi, did I? Pablo froze for a few seconds. Realizing what I implied, anger clouded his face as he slammed the wall. Carmen, she's your sister.
How can you think that way?
I only cared for her because she saved my Levi's that wrong. You know, I cut him off with a cold laugh, the buried despair in my heart turning numb. Well then, Ezequiel saved my life too. So, isn't it fair that I'm with him now? As the saying goes, when someone saves your life, you owe them yours. The fury on Pablo's face vanished, replaced by shock. What do you mean? When did he save you? He couldn't have suddenly. His expression changed drastically, turning deathly pale. Chapter 11. I lifted my head, staring at him coldly, completely calm. Pablo licked his lips before speaking, his voice hoarse. 10 days ago. It really was, yes, I answered firmly. The hope in his eyes shattered instantly, replaced by despair. Lowering his voice, he muttered, I didn't know, Carmen. I really didn't know. I thought it was fake. I thought you were tricking me. Enough. I interrupted him with a cold laugh, stabbing him right in the heart. Pablo, stop making excuses. You say we've been childhood friends, but what did you really do? You promised to marry Meth and flirted with Naomi. When I was trapped underground, clinging to my last hope and begging for your help, you cut me off completely. In a life-or-death moment, even if it had been a lie, you couldn't be bothered to check if it was true. In the end, Pablo, you were the one who was cruel. You betrayed what we had. With every word, Pablo stepped back, face full of despair. The sunlight falling on him made him look like a frozen statue. I easily pulled free from his grip and walked toward the exit, turning back one last time.
Pablo.
I don't like you anymore. The Carmen who chased after you, loved you, that Carmen is gone. I will forget you completely and start a new life. So, let's never meet again. Pablo stood frozen, unable to move. Oh, and one more thing, are you really sure Naomi saved your life? Maybe you never thought. You might have been wrong. Seeing his face change dramatically, I stopped paying him any attention. And despite his increasingly desperate pleas, I walked away with my head held high. Chapter 12. After that day, I spent all my time with Ezequiel. Day by day, my feelings for Pablo vanished completely. Occasionally, when I saw him on TV, flirting with other women, I felt nothing but boredom. During that time, Assistant Jiang called me several times, trying to persuade me. Miss Lin, the young master still loves you, he just doesn't know how to show it. These days he's been drinking himself unconscious, calling your name over and over. He's full of regret about what happened during the earthquake. After several calls saying the same thing, I blocked him. I wouldn't let him interfere with my mission. 2 months later, I finally made progress with conquering Ezequiel. That morning, he told me he loved my head buried against my neck, voice low and tender. I was so happy I could barely contain it. But just then, an unexpected call came in. It was Naomi's older sister. The cafe was filled with the rich aroma of coffee. Carmen, what did you tell Pablo? Naomi, sitting across from me, glared at me with resentment, her eyes full of hatred. Of course, I told him how you stole my place.
Why?
Did Pablo give you trouble? Weren't you always so good at fooling people with those tearful eyes? Looks like that didn't work this time, I replied calmly, taking a sip of my coffee. 5 years ago, our parents died in a car accident on their way to find Naomi, who had gone missing. Afterward, I brought her home and cared for her with all my heart. When she said she wanted to become a star, I used my connections as her agent to pave the way for her. When she said she had never known the love of elders, I brought her to Pablo's parents so they would grow fond of her. When she said she had no friends, I introduced her to my own circle, including Pablo. But never did I imagine this sister of mine would be so ungrateful. Everything I loved, she wanted to take for herself. Not only that, but she also smeared my name. Even though it was me who saved Pablo from drowning, when I went to get help, she claimed credit. When she was the one who called Pablo back, she played the victim, making it seem as if I had hurt her on purpose. And when she rejected a commercial contract because the location was too remote, she accused me of stealing it and giving it to my own artists. You, Carmen, what right do you have to take Pablo so easily? He's mine. Don't you dare steal him from me. Naomi shrieked, wounded by my words, leaping from her seat. Oh, he's all yours. I'm giving him to you. He's nothing but a rotten apple, would want him. I replied mockingly. Before she could lose control again, I continued, Naomi, I never understood what have I done to make you hate me so much? At my words, the woman in her delicate white floral dress brushed her hair back and suddenly smiled. Because I'm the leading lady, and you're just a supporting role. Only I deserve someone as magnificent as Pablo. It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, we'd be happy by now. He was so sweet to me, but yesterday, he suddenly came to question me, smash things, and canceled all my endorsements. You ruined my life. I looked at the woman, who seemed on the verge of madness, and couldn't help finding her ridiculous. I think you've been acting too much. Maybe it's time to go home and get your head straight. Besides, I don't care about Pablo. If you want him, go earn him fair and square. Stop using those dirty tricks, it's disgusting. You.
Ah.
A tall, lean figure suddenly grabbed Naomi's hand, stopping her just as she was about to throw coffee at me, and yanked her away. Chapter 13. Touch what's mine again, and you'll regret it. Ezekiel stood beside me, his cold gaze fixed on Naomi as though she were already dead. Naomi's face instantly changed when she saw him. As Pablo's sworn enemy, she knew exactly who this man was. Back when she first entered showbiz and hadn't yet gained Pablo's trust, I had often helped her. Eager to climb the ranks, she once tried to approach Ezekiel, hoping to benefit from his influence. But before she could even get close, his bodyguards threw her out. Remembering that, Naomi looked up at me with disdain. Carmen, so you've stopped fighting me for Pablo because you've found yourself a new man? I was about to answer, but Ezekiel cut in. What a filthy mouth. If you don't want to get kicked out, leave now. I'm not known for being gentle. Ezekiel casually wiped the spot Naomi had touched with a handkerchief, his face dark with irritation. His words left no room for doubt. Gritting her teeth, Naomi grabbed her purse, shot me a hateful glare, and fled in disgrace. Wow, Ezequiel is so handsome. I praised him, eyes sparkling with admiration. Really? Such a sweet mouth. Let me have a taste, he said, pulling me close and capturing my lips in a kiss. My eyes widened. Ed was doing this in public. As if reading my mind, Ezekiel covered my eyes and whispered, "Just focus on me." Soft music played in the cafe as I slowly closed my eyes. Chapter 14. A week later, I arranged to move my things from the Song family's house to my own apartment. I used to cling to Pablo, spending time at the Song house. Auntie Song adored me so much, she'd even reserved a room for me to stay whenever I liked. I was so shameless back then, spending half the month there. Over time, that room had filled with my things. A few days ago, Auntie Song called, wondering why I hadn't been staying over. That's when I realized many of my belongings were still there. After informing Aunt Lou at the villa, movers brought everything to my new place. The elevator arrived on my floor, doors sliding open. I looked up and there were several large boxes and Pablo. "What are you doing here?" I asked, frowning. I'd barely taken a step when Pablo lunged at me, shoving me hard against the wall, crushing his lips to mine. The stench of alcohol hit me as his teeth bit down hard on my lips. I couldn't break free, so I quickly raised my knee, aiming for his weakness. Oof. Carmen. Pablo stumbled back a step. "Pablo, are you insane? Be careful, or I'll report you for assault," I snapped, wiping my lips in disgust. Pablo seemed to regain a bit of composure, his eyes bloodshot. "Carmen, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I didn't mean to. Don't you remember? You used to say you'd never marry anyone but me. You love me. I can't live without you, you know that. We've been together so long, how can you say you don't love me anymore?" He pulled out a small box from one of the larger ones and held it out to me. "Look, these are the love letters you wrote me. Every one of them full of your feelings. And these. 1,000 paper cranes you folded for me." I rubbed my aching head and interrupted him. "Enough, Pablo. I told you I don't love you anymore. Don't you understand plain language?" But Pablo seemed lost in his own delusions, still shouting. "No. You love me. Not anyone else. Ezekiel isn't worthy." "Oh, you talking about me?" Ezekiel appeared out of nowhere, long coat flowing, his presence overpowering. He strolled to my side. "Got a lighter?" I asked. "Of course." He glanced at the box's contents, raised an eyebrow, then flicked a blue flame to life. Casually, he grabbed a handful of letters and set them ablaze, one by one. "No, stop!" Pablo tried to interfere, but Ezekiel blocked him. He shouted, struggled, fought. But by the time I'd burned every letter and crane, his voice was hoarse, strained. He looked like a drowning man, suffocating in despair. "Pablo, let me say it again. I don't love you anymore. To me, no, you're worth less than a stranger." Burning these things, I didn't feel a shred of sadness. In fact, I realized how foolish I'd been to have fallen for someone like you. Pablo broke free from Ezekiel's grip and rushed to the trash can, standing there frozen. As Ezekiel carried the last box inside, Pablo suddenly looked up, eyes burning with bloodthirsty rage. Ezekiel, I swear, I'll make you die the worst possible death. Chapter 15. From that day, Pablo went completely mad, launching an all-out war against Chin Corporation. What had once been a hidden rivalry now erupted into open hostility. He began stealing clients, seizing property, even bribing the media to spread negative news about Chin Corporation. I felt guilty watching Ezekiel's weary face. I'm sorry, Ezekiel, I never thought Pablo would go this far. Your company, Ezekiel gently stroked my cheek, speaking softly. You think your man is so easy to defeat? Trust met his will all be over soon. At the time, I didn't fully understand what he meant. But the answer came quickly. 15 days later, Song Corporation faced a financial crisis. One of their heavily invested projects hit technical issues, draining massive funds. The financial hole was too deep. Within a week, Song Corporation declared bankruptcy. Simultaneously, a video leaked showing Pablo threatening rivals, bribing officials, and committing other illegal acts for business advantage. Police arrested him swiftly. As for Naomi, without Pablo's support, her entertainment career crumbled. Rumors of her bullying actresses and stealing roles spread fast. Even her own agency considered blacklisting her.
It was deeply satisfying to watch.
Chapter 16. What are you looking at? Ezekiel asked, pulling me into his embrace. Such satisfying news, I replied, still scrolling through the latest updates about Song Corporation, a smile tugging at my lips. That happy, Ezekiel kissed me, chuckling softly. Without taking my eyes off the screen, I nodded.
Then,
let me make you even happier. Ezekiel gently turned my face to his, gazing into my eyes, voice serious. Let's get married. Huh? Married? Am I dreaming? Every time I'd hinted before, he always said, wait a little longer, wait a little longer. Typical playboy behavior. At first, I worried if I didn't complete the mission, I'd face some punishment. But as time passed, I realized there was none, not even System 002 appeared much anymore. I gradually stopped caring. Now, holding the bright red marriage certificate in my hand, I couldn't help but call out to the system. This time, the system that had been absent for so long finally reappeared. Congratulations, host. Mission complete. I hope you and your beloved live happily ever after. System 002 sounded particularly cheerful. Was this mission too easy? I hesitated. It felt like I had simply gone along with the flow and succeeded. Host, how can you say that? It was your strength and boldness that made it happen. But now I won't stay. I'm off to find 001. Goodbye. And with that, the system cut off our connection. Is that so? I murmured softly. What's wrong, love? Stay focused, Ezekiel said, noticing my thoughtful expression. A dark glint flashed in his eyes as he leaned in to kiss me. Beneath the bright blue sky, a couple embraced passionately in the morning light. Extra 1, Ezekiel. I am Ezekiel. The first time I met Carmen was in a rundown alley. I hadn't eaten for days. She wore a beautiful princess dress and offered me a piece of bread. It was the most delicious thing I had tasted since losing my mother and living on the streets. 10 years later, when I saw her again, she no longer remembered me. Her eyes were always fixed on Pablo, that hypocrite. I was consumed with jealousy, but could do nothing. Then one day, a system called 001 suddenly appeared in my mind. It told me that it and its sibling, 002, were on their first mission. They didn't want to be apart and needed an easy task to complete so they could return home smoothly. They chose Carmen and me. At first, they wanted me to play the devoted second male lead, chasing after Carmen. But she only had eyes for Pablo. And Pablo being the chosen one meant I never even had the chance to get close. I began to resent the system, feeling like my life was being controlled. But then an unexpected earthquake triggered a new mission where the female lead would chase after the second male lead and completely defeat the scumbag. And I had the chance to save Carmen. At that moment, I was incredibly grateful I hadn't driven those pesky systems away. Still, I made a deal with them. Once the mission was complete, they would never contact us again. Luckily, they kept their word and vanished. Now it's time for our happy life. and I'm truly looking forward to it. Extra 2, Naomi. I'm Naomi. After returning to the Lin family, every time I saw Carmen's carefree smile, I felt deep envy. Looking back on these past 20 years I had suffered outside, while she enjoyed endless love and care at home.
Why?
So I decided I would take everything from Carmen. As this thought grew stronger, one day, a system called Heroine Strategy approached me. It told me I was the true protagonist, that Carmen, the side character, had stolen everything from me. If I wanted the life I deserved, I had to fight for it. I had to take it. And so I did. Along the way, I experienced the thrill of being on top. But just when everything seemed to be going my way, my system disappeared. And Ezequiel came to me. He asked me to present a project to Pablo, promising 10 billion. I thought it was simply, so I did it. But I never expected that this project would push Song Corporation into crisis and bankruptcy. Only then did I realize I had been used. At the same time, my system vanished without a trace. With the scandal exposed, my life spiraled into chaos. The dream of being the true protagonist completely shattered.